email conversations and eventually conversations with Sister Emma, who is this person who is in this picture. Unfortunately, she had decided that she would like to take us out to the villages to look at their community projects. Now, partly because I've been born in Malawi and partly because all we'd done is go out to villages, I actually was very keen to go to the school itself. And so we had a little bit of, oh dear. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, come to breakfast. So here we are having breakfast together where we were staying. And she gave me some of the background to the school. And then because she had arranged for us to go to the villages, she then went out to the villages. So what's happened is the school has started some years ago. And she basically started it. She's quite a dynamic lady. I don't know how much any of you know about her, but she started the school by borrowing a children's house very close to the Roman Catholic University. I mean, obviously she's a Roman Catholic sister herself, and then she built this house, and then eventually she managed to get some funding, and she was given a bit more space, and now they've got a wonderful school, which I will go and talk about because that's what I've taken pictures of and which we actually went to visit. But part of their outreach program, and if you know anything about Malawi, it's around the sort of southern area. It's in places like Cholo and Malacca and Chinga, and even as far north as Salima on the lakeshore. And one of the things is encouraging and teaching parents how to communicate with their deaf and blind children. And of course, a lot of these children not only are just deaf and blind, they have many other disabilities as well. And often they find that out in the villages, in the community, that a lot of these, the parents, or particularly the mums of the disabled children, are often left on their own because the fathers just decide they don't want to have anything more to do with it, and they disappear, which can also lead to all sorts of other problems such as finance. And so they're also encouraging the mothers to have savings schemes, and encouraging them to have small businesses, and alongside, and how they can integrate their children who are deaf and blind into the businesses and the local community. So that just gives you a very brief background to where they're at. So off we went out. We had hired a car, and off we went to the Chisombezi Deafblind Centre. And this is a little way out of Blantyre, and the goal, as you could see, is to receive quality education aimed at their independence and successful integration into the society where they can reach their full potential. And she certainly has a very wide and a brilliant vision about the fact that these children can lead independent lives, but they just need the help. The biggest problem they've got at the moment is the funding. And Sister Emma herself was trained first of all, as a primary teacher, and then went on to secondary. And what I found so interesting, and I mentioned it to her, and before she told me, I said that Helen Keller, which I no doubt most of you know about her, she actually was the inspiration for the work that Emma has subsequently done, little by little, and gradually built this blind school. But then, as I say, going out into the communities. And as you can see, some of the pictures of them actually doing their own gardening and things like that. And I'll show you a few little things. And she has children from literally naught. They haven't got any at the moment, but very small, right up to standard 6, which is when they can matriculate. So it's a holistic thing. It's not just, they're not just looking after little ones. And I don't know if you've got the pictures, you can see it says our school is an inclusive school. And I took a photograph of this because I thought it was so beautifully written that in 2003, one child at Montfort demonstration school was identified and assessed to have both hearing and vision problems due to illness. This prompted for an action. There were interventions made from 2003 until the construction of the centre and its opening in 2007. And it was funded by Sister Emma and Colombi and Mr. J, whoever he is, Kufosi. As of now, the centre offers education children with deaf blindness in 3 categories, and they've got pull-out system, home-based education, and residential education. The home itself, the school itself, has about 15 students, but they can only take students who can walk and take some care of themselves. Obviously, they can't do everything, but they have to have some sort of independence, if you like, and walking obviously is a major one. So as you come into the school, unfortunately I didn't take one as we came in. I hadn't got into the photographic thing at that point. I'm always so excited about meeting people, I forget about photographs. But here's the entrance to school. It might look very basic to you, but in fact that is a pretty good, it's clean. And notice all the things hanging up against the wall, all sensory stuff for them to feel. And there are in raid, you see this little one here, we'll see some more of him in a minute. Some are just lying on the floor, whereas others, and I want you to particularly look at the young man who is sitting on the far right hand side of your picture, and I will come back to him in a moment. And so there they are, obviously in different stages of ability, but all of them can move or do some sort of physical walking, which is quite important to get around the centre. What's lovely, there are lots of these all the way around the wall, and every child has got their own little who they are, where they come from. So for example, the first one is Chisombezi. His cause of disability was acquired. His home is Lilongwe. His date of birth is the 22nd of August 09. And he likes football, jumping, biking, studying, and dislikes doing chores and dancing. So it's very homely, very much about each child and how they're developing. The next one is got cause of disability, which is in fact the majority of them is actually congenital. And this particular one, he was born in 2011, so a bit younger, and he likes drawing, lonely play, observing, and dislikes instructions. So they're normal kids, you know. Okay, they've got disabilities, but they're just like any other child who likes or dislikes things. Then we went over to see the school, and this is obviously the nursery area. And again, you can see how beautifully organized it is, how it was the best place of all the places we went. This was the best. You could almost feel the love and the care coming through from particularly from the sister who was there. And I just loved all these little things hanging up. They take them, they're all sensory, and each of those doors leads into a classroom. And again, you can see how clean and tidy it is. And then this little one here, well, he just took Julie's hat and accompanied us on our journey around the school. And when we got to this bit, you see, showed us how he can do his mathematics. No, not really, but they've got good resources. They're well organized. Even if you look on the table, you've got the alphabet, and everywhere is well resourced, and really well cared for, and geared up to the children. I've just got this picture here. This is Julie, my friend who came with me, whose hat he's wearing. And you'll see him again in the next picture. And here's a classroom of old, I can't remember which year group this is. I can't remember, it's standard. Looking at it, I would say, looking very quickly, it's probably about standard 3 or 4, which is sort of 11, 12-year-olds. But notice how they've got the desks again, thought out. How do we communicate with children who are deaf and blind? So again, it's all carefully worked out and very structured really well. Somebody here who really knows the needs of these children, but as well having a good grounding in teaching and learning. And this really sums up the atmosphere. There they are, both looking at the wall. Look at lots of things all over the place. Look at those little rocking horses, probably made locally. Again, sensory stuff everywhere. I did, by the way, Rosie, talk about the soap thing as well. I'm not sure how far that went, but I did mention it, and we gave them lots of different scented soaps. And this lady here is also, I can't remember her name now. She's also a trained teacher, and so this is just to give you a feel. It feels open, airy, well cared for. The paint's not peeling off the walls, which so often you go in and it's dark and it needs a lot of love TLC, whereas this place, the TLC came out the walls, the people and the children. Just to show you again, that might look very basic to you, but actually that struck me as really good. Again, bunk beds, mosquito nets, all important stuff. And I really feel that the money, any money that's given, is being really well used in this. And I wouldn't say that of everywhere I visited. Really well used. And they don't have a lot, they don't need a lot. And so again, curtains at the window, proper concrete floor, that's all really lovely stuff. And then this is looking where just now when we take that first picture of them down the walls, I'm watching the time, that's into their dining area. One of their biggest problems is these slopes that they really need to get rid of, particularly in where the school bit is, because the children are amazing. I don't know how they get around, but they do. They seeing as they can't see it, but and there they are eating in the dining room. We got there at the end of our visit. There they were, and having their beans and their ensema. And you, because they're not actually being fed, they're feeding themselves, but obviously they need to have extra people helping them to find their plates and things like that. But you can see also the range in ages as well. Now, Cameron, I just want to finish off with this young man who you saw in that first picture, and I can't remember how old she said he was, 15 or 16, but he can do most things. He can wash up, he can prepare vegetables, he can go out and grow the vegetables, and thanks to the school, he's an amazing child. And when you look at him, you think he can't do anything, but actually what he can do is amazing. And he's even learning car mechanics and all sorts of things using his hands. So this is the end product from that little one that was walking around to this young man who was it appears to be sitting doing nothing, but actually it was a Sunday afternoon, so it was up rest day. And so
could I just say something, Anne?
Of course.
People might think that it's very sparse and open. In fact, blind people find it very hard to stand on their feet and walk around, and it's a progression thing. They have to learn. You have to learn to know that you're safe standing up. And having a floor as clean as they have there and as shiny as they have means that they can get around and feel their space around them. And I noticed that each one was in their own little pocket of space. The things behind them are called concrete items. And for those that can't access speech, it is a way of them demonstrating that they have a need and a want. So maybe the ball is about, I actually want to play now. And he will feel the floor, feel the vibrations, feel people there, and be able to find the ball, and that will say quite clearly, I want to play now. Or it might be toileting, or it might be actually doing something constructive, making something. So I just wanted to explain that, because otherwise it looks as though it's a very Spartan area, and it isn't. That it's well laid out. I am dead impressed.
So was I. So was I. And what I think this place showed, which isn't very common in Malawi, is somebody who has been able to think outside the box,
yeah,
of the needs, exactly as you've just described, of blind and deaf people, but also integrated teaching and learning in a very constructive and positive way, which is giving them opportunities that they would never have had if it wasn't for the work she's doing. And the sad thing is the funding is her biggest problem, because the funding from Norway is running out. And so I think there's an awful lot of sore knees at the moment, as they pray for finding ways of getting new funding. And the other interesting thing is, I didn't mention at the beginning, and this problem is going to get worse, is a lot of these children are suffering from congenital stuff, partly because of lack of nutrition in their development in the womb. So I've had my 10 minutes. I've gone over it. Sorry, David.
No, that was brilliant. Thank you.
And that's just to give you a feel of what the outside is like. Yeah, they've got, their little garden, and that little house is where the nuns live, and the borehole, all terribly important things.
Anybody got any quick questions?